a very happy story, but it's a story nevertheless. And it's about education and future and all of that. A sort of, I suppose, education that could be useful if you want to categorize it as that. There was a man long time ago, he came from Russia. His name is Leo Tolstoy. I don't know what is wrong with Russians, really. They have a tendency of writing these big, fat novels that just goes on endlessly. There is one book in particular that he wrote. It's called The Death of Ivan Ilyich. I don't know if any of you have looked at that book, but if you haven't, you should go online and just download the book, and it's not very long. You can probably just finish it in one sitting. It's about someone like me facing people like you, almost a 40-year age difference, that most of you want to graduate and be accomplished, buy things, be secure and safe and comfortable, the things that I have. So I am really your future. That's what you want. You want to be like me. You know, it's a privilege to come to class and have 20 people just listen to you. That's a lot of power to be had. And just in case your hand goes up, I have the power to just put it down. If you ask a question, I have the power to dismiss it. If you say something ridiculous and infantile, I can just embarrass you. I wouldn't, but maybe I will. The Death of Ivan Ilyich is about someone like me who goes to school because, like the rest of you in this class, I like having power. It gives me safety and security. It's a tool that I can use to navigate myself through this thing called life. It gives me power and control. So I went to the doctor last month. I just was having some difficulties, and she told me, I have a she doctor. She's very cute. Married, but she usually closes the door when she wants to examine me. I like that. So I went and did some tests. Stage 4 cancer. She has given me about 2 years, but, you know, give or take a few years. And so, going back to what you had asked, what was your name? Forgive me.
Carlos.
Carlos, yes. When you realize that your time is limited, you kind of go back in time and you do what Joaquin had mentioned a few minutes ago. You do a good amount of critical thinking. And it is true that we talk about critical thinking and education and philosophy and all that stuff in a very casual way. But when you do anything casually, it doesn't really have much depth. Imagine you go to Home Depot and you plant a 1-gallon redwood. It has no depth. You can go back to it after 2 years and you don't need to take a shovel. You can just grab it by the trunk and pull it up. But imagine if there is a tree out there that's been around for about 5, 10, 15, 20 years. You need a tractor, you need a bulldozer, you need something. So whenever anything lacks depth, it really, for the most part, has no value. Even if you happen to be 981 years old, but there is no depth to your thinking, it means it matters very little what you have experienced, you know. It hasn't gone through a rigorous process of critical thinking and examination. And so when you critically examine everything that you have done in your life, having gone to India, standing up for rights of others, the weak, the poor, the impoverished, going to school, getting married, having children, getting a job, buying a house, then you're forced to sit back and ask, what is it all for? And then the problem with examining anything very critically is that you come to realize they have zero value. I don't know how many of you in this class have been in relationships. You try to self-deceive for a long, long time. I can fix him or her. Oh yes, this too shall pass. And then there comes a point where you realize that you're hitting against a concrete wall. You know, emotionally you're exhausted, mentally you're exhausted, you no longer see any light in front of you or behind you, and now you have a choice, do you stay or do you go? Well, you can't simply go because time creates attachments, time creates emotions. You know, time creates hopes and dreams. So even though you don't really see much hope in the relationship, it's very difficult for you to walk away. Why? Physically you're connected, emotionally you're connected. It's not a good connection, but you're connected nevertheless. It's called what we call a habit. Ask any alcoholic, they want to quit, they just can't. It's too difficult. They've been doing it every day for the past 30 years. They have the same friends, they go to the same bar, they walk the same streets. How do you walk away from all of that? You can't. So this idea of racism, this idea of injustice, all the awful things you see in society and human beings, these are our addictions. Just because you have a bumper sticker that says anti-racism, it doesn't really mean anything unless you're just very, very, very superficial in thinking and feeling and looking at things. So, Carlos, you see, when you're told that you have stage 4 cancer, all of a sudden you realize perhaps that everything that your parents have told you, they have been a lie. You went to school for a lie. You got married for a lie. You had children for a lie. Everything you believe yourself to be is a lie. What am I here for the next 14 weeks? What am I to say? What should I count as valuable and important? You know, and the truth is there is nothing of value. There is nothing of importance. I mean, there is, but it just can't be conveyed. And if I was to convey, the truth is, are you really at a stage where you can listen and hear? Imagine that you and I want to be in a relationship together. I'm 60. How old are you? The hell do you got to offer me? Nothing. Zero. You are useless to me. And yet I want to be with you. And yet you want to be with me. The truth is, we speak different languages. We have different experiences. And you think, well, just because I love you and you love me, that means anything? Just give it some time. Eventually you'll come to realize that, do you really want to spend the next 20, 30 years of your life hanging out with an old guy like me? The answer is no. So the very creation of this class is founded on injustice and inequality. Why? I want to tell you things. First, I don't know how. Second, if I did know how, you're not in the right place to hear them. Even if you were in the right place to hear them, you wouldn't know how to apply them. So all I do is I talk, you show me some interest, and then you walk out and the interest is gone. So, what is worth learning? Any other questions? Nyan. Did I get that right?
How was the night that you?
Well, I've never really enjoyed life. So when I was told that I'm going to die, I was extremely happy. I mean, there were some parts of me that were sad. Is my wife going to remarry? I mean, that was a nightmare to go through. There were many, many moments I wanted to go to the kitchen, grab a knife, and slit her throat. I've been occupying that bed for like 30 years, man. And all of a sudden, the idea that she's going to bring another man, put him in that space, it's awful. And then my kids. Am I ever going to see them in prison? Am I ever going to see them get released from prison? But for the most part, it's, Here's the thing you need to understand, not so much about life or death, but about all relationships. If you have closure, and then we'll talk about what closure is. If you have closure, you can walk away from anything relatively cleanly. If on the other hand, you don't have closure, it means your novel is incomplete. When it's incomplete, it means, for example, my mom is right now 80. Let's say it's her last breath. And for the past 20 minutes, she's been saying, I want to see Amir. That's me. But Amir is in Oakland. And by the time I get to Roseville, where she lives, that's about 2 hours away. In traffic, 3.5 hours. She won't get a chance to see me. Her last desire in life, that's how she gets closure, is to see me. Then she'll be calm, at peace, and then she'll die. That's called closure. On the other hand, if you don't have closure, you're going to be filled with anxiety, frustration, anger, resentment, hatred. Why do people go to therapy? It's not because they want to get back together with their father, with their mother, with their boyfriend or girlfriend, or their exes. They want closure. And how do you get closure? Well, for us, it can only be done through understanding. Unless you're dying and it's your last breath and all that. But if you lack understanding, you're never going to have closure. You're going to have a good amount of poison inside you. And that poison is going to leak out everywhere, whatever relationship you get yourself involved, until you reach a stage where you're mature enough. I mean, almost every person who overcomes a traumatic experience, whether it's about not having a father or having an abusive father or living in a crappy environment such as this, okay? You need time. First, to go through the emotional issues, then you need to kind of take a few steps back because you come to a place where you say, I just don't want to be this way anymore, man. I'm just tired of being this way. I'm tired of destroying every relationship I get into. Whenever you're able to overcome any traumatic experience in your life, you've done a heroic journey. And we'll talk about that because there are stages you need to go through. Like anything else in life, you want to build anything, you got to go through steps. If you think that inwardly you have a house and that house has been shattered into pieces and you want to recreate it, you got to go through steps. The first thing you need to do is get rid of the roof. Then you got to get rid of the studs. Then you got to see if the concrete is okay. Okay? When everything, the platform is clean, then you go to Home Depot and you buy brand new studs. But you have to know how to learn. You have to learn how to build walls. Put the frame together. It's not easy, man. Emma.
Camille.
Mel.
Do you think all young adults are emotionally
Couple of things. In order to survive, whether you are a leech, a worm, a lion, or a human being, you need to be smart. You need to be cunning. Some of it is instinctual. Some of it you learn. You have to be a great politician. I mean, look, in this class, Let's say one or two or all of you in this class are bored. Well, I don't like to see boredom on people's faces because in essence it tells me that what I'm telling them, what I'm talking about is not as interesting as I think they are. And that decreases my value. It puts my identity into doubt. And I don't like that. So what do you need to do? If you have been socialized relatively well, you will just keep looking at me. You'll daydream about your boyfriend, but your eyes will be glued at me. That's cunning, that's clever, that's intelligent. Because it'll protect you and your grade in the future. Okay. Now, when you ask about are young people emotionally intelligent, there are a couple of things you need to understand. First, emotions take time to be created. We'll talk about that because you have moods, you have feelings, you have emotions, okay, and then you have trauma. Okay, we'll talk about all of that. Intelligence is something very, very, very difficult because you become consumed by an emotion. Let's just say love. Okay? Then you realize things are not working out too well for you. What do you need to do? Well, if you want to understand where you are, what you are, and how this emotion called love is playing itself through you, what do you need to do? You have to take a few steps outside of this emotion to be able to look at it. And there's a good chance that you will not like what you see. I mean, that's a different whole host of issues you got to deal with. Okay? Then, after a while, when the intensity subsides or dies down a little bit, you have to sit back and observe it, take notes, and see if you can understand it.
Could you use an example with anger?
Sure. Any of you have a marker? I keep forgetting my marker because I don't see myself as an educator. A what? Yeah. You got one? You got something that's permanent? I'm just kidding. Okay. Camille? You should watch that short video, The Hungry Chameleon. Yeah. I have like 5,000 of them in my office. Okay. I'm going to create a scenario. You ready? You sure? One thing you need to know about education is that it's a Latin word. It means to bring out. But before we talk about anger, you need to sit back and ask, why is the word education defined as bringing out? Have you hidden something? Have you forgotten something? How do you bring something out? Imagine all of a sudden you remember you placed a bag full of money in one of your jackets and you have thousands of them. You just have forgotten which jacket. And you open the closet and there are thousands of jackets in the closet. What do? First, you have to open the closet. First, you have to remember that you have money. But how do you remember? Poverty. You realize you need money and you don't have it. So without poverty, there is no remembrance. You need to understand that. You don't think about food when your belly is full. You think about food when you're hungry. So the moment you say, let's talk about anger, it means there's a place inside you that longs for calm, forgiveness perhaps, compassion perhaps, understanding perhaps. So the very question indicates a good amount of poverty that lives inside you. That's the first thing. So if you and I were to go out on a date, don't tell me your name is Camille. Tell me my name is poor. Because out of that poverty, you have anxiety, frustration, anger, entitlement. And most often, you will misplace all the emotions you have onto me. I become the villain. You will push me around. So remember, why is education painful? Because you're bringing out something that you have either forgotten or you have deliberately kept hidden. And now you say, Amir, bring it out. And I say, Kamil, are you sure? Do you want me to read your journal out loud? And when you say yes, you know what you're saying? I am the truth. I am the way. I am the life. And no one gets to the Father except through me. That you have reached the stage where you know exactly how you're going to feel and you're going to be okay with it. You're going to look at me and say, Amir, I love you, but last night I slept with another man. And you're ready for me to walk away. You're ready for me to slap you. You're ready for me to weep. Or you are ready to repent.
We're not actually talking about me.
No. Yeah. Now, let's say I am your father. It's a hypothetical. And you are 3, and I am 40. I come home from work, and you run. You say, Dad! I slap you. Now you say, damn, but let me tell you something. And that goes back to having children. I met your mother. It's a hypothetical. Please remember that. Hypothetical. I met your mother when I was 18 at a party. We were both drunk. You know what that is? Drunk? We just got drunk. And because this is Oakland, we also got high. You know, we went to one of those stores.
The dispensary.
Right. Is that what they're called?
Yes.
Oh, you're a professional. Good. Now, so what do 18-year-olds do? I know they want to sit and talk about God. How to end racism and bigotry and poverty, right? That's what 18-year-olds do. No, they don't. No. So your mom and I went to the back seat of my bike. We're very creative. And you know what happens when you're drunk? You have out-of-body experiences and out-of-mind experiences, so you just act as a complete idiot. Six weeks later, she knocks on my door. I say, oh, what was your name? Martha. Okay, Martha, what can I do for you? I'm late. I don't think we had a date. No, not late like that. I'm late. Late for what? I'm late. I don't know what you mean, I say. I missed my cycle. I'm sorry to hear that. Good luck with everything. Not so quick, Martha tells me. You are the villain. What did I do? I'm late. It's your fault. You think I was ready to have a child? Let's season this up a little bit. I'm a Catholic. So no termination of pregnancy. And I never had a father. So I said, well, damn, I'm not just going to abandon her the way my parents abandoned me. So I say, Martha, all right, let's go to Reno, grab a cup of coffee, go through one of those drive-through wedding ceremonies, and we'll be husband and wife. How old am I? 18. Well, you think I got no dreams? I got no goals? You don't think I want to be a doctor? You think I want to go to school and get a PhD? You think I want to make money and have a good life, a fun life? What happens? At the age of 18, I am now condemned to a life I didn't ask. All my dreams and hopes get shattered. What do I do now? From 6 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, I work at Home Depot. When I come home, I come for what? To have some lunch, some quiet time. Martha, I got no lunch for you. What? I've been working all day. I want some calm, some quiet. What happens? There's this tiny little infant screaming. You think what? I'm going to like my life? I'm going to hate my life. You stole my youth from me as I did yours. And now we're both condemned to be with one another, having a child we didn't really want and not ready for. Why do I slap you? You think what? Because I'm evil? Of course not. Look at my life. Look at my history. You don't understand it. I was condemned at the age of 18, put into slavery. Why, you want me to be happy? You want me to be filled with joy? Now, you're a kid. I'm not going to expect you to understand why I slapped you. It's too much for you. You're going to cry. And when I realize what I have done, I'm going to run after you, give you a kiss, hold you, say, let's go have some frozen yogurt. On me. All right? So we go, I hold your hand, we go to the park, all because of why? I feel guilty for what I have done. And why do I feel guilty? I caught myself. I hit you, you wept, and I realized your cries are because of me. That made me feel bad about who I am and what I have done. Another thing you need to understand about repentance, nobody just repents because they have nothing better to do. Something about you sees your own self, certain parts of it, and you won't like it. And the emotions are intense. I'm going to be a really good, decent father and a decent husband for another couple days, and I'm going to go to work. And it's a 15-hour shift, and I'm coming home and I'm exhausted. You run to me. And again, man, I scream at you, I kick you, and I don't want to do any of that stuff. But you know what anger does? It's like being drunk with an emotion. You do things that you're not aware of. See, the first time I slapped you, every experience, it's too bad I don't have a pen or a marker, but we'll do this again later on. All experiences fall into two categories, well, three, really. Pain, pleasure, indifference. See, some of you in this class asked a question a couple minutes ago. I have forgotten about them. You know why? I was indifferent towards them. Some questions intrigued me. I'm only focusing on the questions that give me intellectual pleasure. The first time I slapped you, was the feeling pain or pleasure? Camille? Good. Then I take you to Froyo. Yes. Now you say, well, maybe my father loves me. Maybe it was an accident. A feeling that can soon be put a Band-Aid on.